Welcome to Elevate Your Mind, your number one podcast for peak performance strategies that will enhance your mindset, develop your emotional skill set, and maybe, just maybe, be the catalyst to create positive forward momentum in your life. Here's what's to come from today's pod.
What is the limiting belief you have in place that protects the limiting emotion that you want to move past? Boom, and we are live. Guys, welcome back to the best podcast on earth for helping you understand the emotional ways in which you operate to help you break through, break out, break free from these limiting traits that are holding you back. Today's particular episode is going to be actually signified and brought to you in a way that is a bit different. Because today I'm going to tell you really why you want to keep it. Why you actually like keeping it. And what I mean by it is I mean these limiting beliefs in your life that protect these limiting emotions. That's what I'm going to bring to you. And when you're listening to this particular episode now, I want you to actually think about what is the limiting emotion that you have in your life: anxiety, fear, worry, doubt, stress, overwhelm, whatever it may be. But I want you to take a step back from that, and I want you to ask yourself, what is the limiting belief that I have in place as to why I can't move past it? I'll say that again slower so you understand, and for dramatic effect. What is the limiting belief you have in place that protects the limiting emotion that you want to move past? Meaning that if my limiting emotion was anxiety, but my limiting belief is I'm not good enough, I just don't think I can, I'm a lost cause, I've tried everything, I'm the worst case scenario, I'm the worst thing you've ever seen, Matt, there is no hope for me. You might have helped 50,000 people, not quite that number just yet, but you might have helped all of these thousands of people, but you haven't helped me and you won't be able to help me. What is that limiting belief that's in the way, or beliefs? And I want you to take a moment now, that unless you're driving, I want you to actually write this down. And if you need to, pause this podcast right now. Because you see, this isn't a standard podcast where you just listen to it and just nod your head. This is a podcast where we take action. This is basically coaching that I bring you. Because, like I always say, don't let this be a nice listen. Implement it. So write down what is the limiting emotion, and then write down what is the limiting belief that you have in place that stops you from overcoming it. Basically protects it, keeps it in place. Write that down. And so if you're still listening to this now, you've got that all written down. And you know what that is. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. This is me. This is just who I am. I'm stuck here. Now ask yourself this very pivotal question. Why? Why do I have this limiting belief or emotion in place? Why do I have this in place? And why do I choose to continually buy into it? Because here's the thing, people will have these beliefs like, I'm not good enough, Matt, and I just can't do it, and I've tried everything. And they will be so passionate about protecting that belief. They will be so passionate about protecting this for why? Why? Because it's something that causes you harm, it brings you pain in your life. So why are people so adamant about keeping it there? Why are people so adamant about saying it time and time and time again to themselves? Why are people so adamant at reinforcing the message that I'm not good enough and that I can't do it and that I am the worst case scenario and that I have tried everything, when quite clearly you haven't? You've basically done the same thing twice, maybe 3 times, and got disappointed, and now you don't want to try anything new. But why are people so adamant at protecting it? Well, I'm going to explain it today. Because I have hundreds, literally hundreds of conversations every single day with people, And people are always presenting limiting beliefs, all the time, many of them that I listed at the start of this episode. And when, not just myself, but people want to offer solutions to that, people are very stringent and very pessimistic in the nature of wanting to find a solution. I'm not talking about in terms of the solution that I'm giving or that someone else is given, but they're stubborn, that's the better word, stubborn in their way of wanting to actually move past it. And so when this started to happen initially in my career, I used to be like, I couldn't get my head around it. Why would someone who sees someone who has so many results, who sees someone who has helped people from a multitude of backgrounds, men, women of all ages, who have struggled with anxieties, fears, worries, doubts, phobias for a region of 5 days all the way up to like 50, 60 years, why would they be so adamant about not wanting the results? And it used to baffle me. And see, over the past year, I've really sort of analysed this, what I do. I sort of recognise the patterns of these things. And I'm going to share with you exactly why people do this. Because here's the thing. This limiting emotion in your life, anxiety, let's call it, it serves a purpose. And if you follow me on any of my socials, you'll know that is exactly what I always talk about. Anxiety or fear or worry, it serves the purpose. And the purpose it serves is it meets a deeper emotional need. So for example, if I'm anxious about driving or if I'm anxious about my health, then what it does is either comes up and it stops me from driving, so therefore keeping me away from the thing that makes me feel unsafe, insecure, or out of control. Or with my health, it's constantly got me checking and scanning and doing this, again, meeting that need for safety, for security, for feelings of being in control. Not in a good way, but in a way that is constantly, if I'm constantly checking, I'm constantly making sure I'm safe. If I'm constantly avoiding that thing, I'm constantly making sure I'm safe. And anxiety is the vehicle that people use to do that, or whatever other emotion you use. It could be fear. OCD is another one. OCD, what is it? It's control. You don't have internal emotional control, so you try to control everything out there. That's why these traits are used. I've said it to you many times. Limiting emotions, you don't have them, you use them. And so when I started to really understand this, I was like, right, great. So if I know that this is why people have these limiting emotions, why is it that they're so adamant about protecting them? And here's the thing, and you can do this with me right now. Let me ask you the very, very, very simple question. If your anxiety, your fear, your worry or doubt is around anything, whatever it may be personal to you, but I'm going to use the analogy of health and driving. If it's stopping me from driving and it's constantly got me scanning my health, if I didn't have that in my life, what would you do to make yourself feel safe, secure and in control emotionally about those areas of your life? I'll ask it again. Currently, the limiting emotion of anxiety, it keeps you away from driving, so it keeps you safe and secure and okay away from here. Consciously, I know it makes you feel like you know what, but it keeps you over here and away from driving. Or with health, it's got me scanning 24/7, so therefore giving me a false sense of safety and security and control because I'm constantly scanning. Consciously, it makes me feel like you know what, but emotionally it's serving the purpose. If you didn't have those in place, if you didn't have that trait to keep you away from driving or keep you scanning and keep you in control in that way, how and what would you have in place to make yourself feel emotionally safe, secure and in control about driving that car, about that health situation or whatever's personal to you? What would you have in place? And some of you are sitting there now listening to me on the tube or walking on your dog walk or driving in the car, wherever you are, or watching me on YouTube, and you haven't got an answer for me, right? You haven't got an answer for me. Not that you need to justify yourself to me, but you just haven't got an answer to that question. Well, we're not having an answer to the question, you have answered the reason why you are so adamant about protecting the fact that you don't want to get rid of it. Because if not, why would you just not want to get rid of it? Because it doesn't serve you at all, right? Anxiety gives you so much pain in your life, right? Anxiety, or I'm using anxiety, it could be anything. Anxiety brings you so much pain and gets in the way of everything, right? Right. So if it wasn't for the reason I'm explaining, why would you not just get rid of it like that? Why not when someone, not just me, anyone approaches you with a solution, would you not just go, Then there is that part that I don't want to get disappointed again because certain things are not optimal for helping you overcome it. Correct, but that's why I always say we don't want to cope and manage, we want to take control and overcome. But the reason that people do this is, like I said a minute ago, if you don't have this in place, if you don't have this limiting belief that, I'm not good enough to overcome X emotion, then what that will do is it keeps me on a deeper level from that. It keeps me emotionally with a vehicle, that trait. It stops me from actually driving and making myself feel unsafe, insecure, or out of control. It keeps me scanning 24/7. And if I'm not scanning 24/7, well, how am I going to be safe, secure, and in control? I don't have any other ways. The only way that I do that currently about my health that I'm not sure about is that I use this trait to be able to do it. Now, you'll be listening to this and going, but Matt, emotionally it doesn't make me feel good. Emotionally it doesn't, it gets in the way. I don't really have anything to worry about, but I'm just obsessing over these physical symptoms and this and that and everything else. Right. But I come back to the main question again. How do you emotionally make yourself feel safe, secure, and in control? In life. Forget the situation. Talk about life. I'm not talking about how you mentally do it. How do you emotionally create that deep, profound nature of safety, security, feelings of being in control? Again, you might be struggling for an answer with me here, and this is why we protect, and this just is in this area, but this is why we protect our emotions, even the limiting ones, with these limiting beliefs, so that ultimately it doesn't upset the apple cart of not getting our needs met. So the way that it works here, if you want the chain, is a belief protects the emotion, and the emotion is to meet the need. The belief protects the emotion, and the emotion meets the need. So therefore, what we need to understand is how to meet that need, what I always talk about, in a much better way. Then we can deconstruct the emotion, get rid of that little feeble limiting belief that you and I, truthfully, at a deeper level, we know that isn't true. You don't need me to confirm that. You know that it isn't true that you're not good enough, or that you can't do it, or that you're the worst case. We both know that isn't true. It's feeble, it's fickle. I see it all day, every day, and I help people just siphon that thing down because it has no legs. It has no foundation. And especially in the way that I show people how to challenge that and move past it, we can break that one down. No worries at all. But you see, you have to understand this process of what I'm going through here. This is why you protect the limiting emotions with these beliefs until now. Because now if you can see that roadmap in front of you, you can start to approach it completely differently. Completely differently. And when I go through this, people say the same thing to me every single time. Matt, you teach this in ways that I've never heard before. And I say the same results, I say the same thing every single time. That's because I help you get results that you've never got before. Because so many people tell you, you need this anxiety and you need this and you need that. It's because they don't understand it on a deeper emotional level. The belief protects the emotion because the emotion meets the need. Whether that emotion is good or bad, that's up to whether you've consciously taken control of it or not. Because there's also emotions that you have in your life, and you say, for example, you have an emotion towards your husband or wife or your children, and you say, I love them so much, and my belief is they're amazing, they're incredible, they could never do any wrong in my eyes, and even if they do, I'll forgive them. Why do you have that belief? Because it meets the emotion, and the emotion meets the need of love and connection and support that you want in your life, the same way I do. And so therefore you have that belief, you have those beliefs in place that you can always forgive them and they can't do no wrong, or they're amazing, or they're lovely, or whatever it is, the belief you have about them, because it sparks that emotion within you and it meets the deeper need. That's it in a positive way. You've just got stuck in a negative loop of it. That's what we need to break out of. That's what we need to identify. That's what we need to obliterate. And if you're going to take one thing from this short episode, it's going to be this. What's better ways? Because there's a few needs you need to meet. There are a few, and it's what I go through with people in a deep, profound way to help them overcome what they're facing. But at a fundamental level, how are you going to meet the need of feeling safe, secure, and in control in a better way? I talk about it a lot on my page, and I show you many ways on my page. But when you can create more feelings of feeling safe, secure, in control, you won't need to use that emotion to meet that need, because you'll do it in a completely different way, and therefore you'll adopt completely different beliefs on the subject. Completely different beliefs. How is it that someone who's struggled with anxiety for 50 years, or someone who hasn't driven in 30 years, or has had panic attacks for 45 years, comes to see me, and in a matter of weeks I can help them break out of that, and a year down the line they're still flying? How can that happen? Because of this understanding of what I'm giving you. Because the beliefs and the emotions I know are just in place. I'm interested in the needs. I show them how to meet their needs in a better way. Then I can just deconstruct those emotions and beliefs simply. People talk about thoughts. I've got these thoughts. I've got this. I've got that. You're scratching the surface. We need to get down dirty. He says if he doesn't lose his voice. We need to get down in the soil and rip out the roots of these things, not picking at the little weedy branches that appear on the surface. But this is what you need to understand for your own personal development in this area. Identify, how can I meet this need for safety, security, and feelings of being in control in this particular area of my life, driving, health, whatever it is to you. So I don't have to use this emotion, and I'm not using these feeble, crappy, excuse my language, beliefs to get in the way of it. Because you do that, you will change the game. Change the game for yourself. You'll knock down glass ceilings in your mind, you'll knock down walls and create a completely profound and new effect for yourself. But this is where it starts. So that is your action step. Don't let this be a nice listen. I say it every single week. Don't let this be a nice listen. What can you do? What can you do to have feelings of safety, security, and feelings of being in control about that particular area of your life right now, with the knowledge now that in doing this, I'm doing this to create a new avenue, so I don't have to use these beliefs anymore to get in the way of to use these emotions to meet these needs. If you can do that, you'll be absolutely flying. If you want further help with that, and you want me to, like anything, like if I can change my own light bulb, or I can get an electrician around here to do it, and they do it in half the time. If you want to do it in half the time, by all means reach out, and I can share with you some ways that you can do that, and I can share you some ways I might be able to help you do that. But if you're going to take control of this yourself and you're going to go and change your own light bulb, great. What you need to understand though is how you're going to meet these needs on a fundamental basis, because this is why the name of this particular episode, these limiting beliefs protect these emotions you desperately want to get rid of. Otherwise, that I'm not good enough, this is just the way that I am, I'm stuck this way, that's going to stick around because it's serving the deeper purpose. We got it? Beautiful. Guys, you know where to find me if I can serve you in any deeper way. Short, sharp, succinct episode right here. I look forward to seeing and serving you again very, very soon. It is time to elevate your mind. Take care.